Sandeepa Dhar, thank you so much for joining me on eTimes How I Made It. And I'm really looking
Thank
forward to this conversation with you. How are you
Same
feeling?
here.
What's happening at your
I'm
end?
feeling very happy and excited to be finally chatting with you and doing this. Finally, I'm speaking with the Vicky Lalwani. So I think I've done something in my life now, career-wise. I've achieved something.
Thanks about that. But, just going along doing my job. And let's start with, you know, the day when you decided and told your parents that you want to become an actress. Now, I would just like to know what was the reaction basically? Was there resistance? Was there strong objection? Did you have to fight
You know,
a very long battle with them?
my story is very different. I didn't go to my parents and tell them that I want to be an actor. So I was in college. I was studying in Xavier's. I was doing my grad, and I had got an offer from Rajshri for the film. And at that time, my plans were very different in life. Like I was also interning with a corporate at that time. I was going to do I was going to work there for 2 years, do my MBA.
Hmm.
I had a very different, like a plan set out for my own self.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity came, I obviously told my parents about it, and I was not very sure of whether I should take it up or not.
Hmm.
Because also I never had any goals of becoming an actor. I never trained in it. None of those things.
Yeah.
In fact, it was my parents who told me that I should give it a try and take it as an experience. It's the opposite because my parents have also been a huge Rajshri fan. They were very delighted, in fact, that I had got my debut call from Rajshri and from Surat Vijayatyaji. So they were no. I didn't have to manau them. I didn't have to struggle to tell them, ki, please let me do this. In fact, they were the ones who said, yeah, I think you should probably give it a try and see if it doesn't work out. Then you can go back and do your MBA and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And if it works out, then you see whether you want to pursue this or not. Because I had no clue whether I wanted to pursue it or not. So that is my story
So,
of
so what
how
did you get from इसी life में that you decided, okay, मुझे यही pursue करना है?
halfway through the film, I realized that I enjoyed being in front of the camera.
Hmm.
Until then, I had only done ads and stuff like that. So that's a very different, journey altogether.
Hmm.
Like the experience of being on a film set, I really enjoyed. And that's when I realized that I think I want to pursue this, but I want to pursue this in a much more organized manner, is what I realized during the filming, because I had no clue. I was so raw, I was so clueless at that time.
So my question had stemmed from the fact that the movie didn't do very well at the box office when it
Right.
released in 2010.
Hmm.
And so was there a large disappointment and frustration that you had to cope with also?
Of course, when you like, I put in almost a year of work into that film.
Hmm.
We shot for 135 days. So you can imagine. And back then, you used to shoot on film cameras.
Hmm.
It was a very different time altogether. So, of course, I was very disappointed. The funny bit is when I was shooting for the film, no, I didn't think about what would happen
Hmm.
once it releases. I was only enjoying the process of being in this film and doing this film. I didn't realize that what happens after we finish this film. Then what happens? So of course, I think that there was that large disappointment because I never thought that it's not going to work. That
नहीं एक
thought
और
also
ऐसा
never.
भी है ना संदीपा कि राजश्री की फिल्म्स most of them work. So
Correct.
till 2010 of
Maybe
course,
that's why.
but so there is
Maybe
this whole bag and baggage that comes along with that production house, that it's going to go into homes as a clean film and it's going to be talked about, it's going to become a family
correct.
discussion.
Correct. And also, for my first film itself, I was getting like a female oriented kind of a
Yeah.
character, and
Hmm.
the story was driven through my character.
Hmm.
So in all of that, and the fact that it was Surajji's film, and like not a single time did I think about the fact that it will not work. Then what? But when it didn't, of course I was. I think, for something that you worked really hard, if it doesn't work, you feel really bad about it.
So the journey progressed, but
Hmm.
slowly.
Hmm.
Did you have to undergo a lot of auditions? Did you have to undergo a lot of rejections? What
So I'll tell
was
you what
that
happened.
factor which, gave a lot of these projects which you did a gap of 2 years in between? Like I see 10 ke baad
Hmm.
12, 12 ke baad 14. You know,
Correct.
there was
Hmm.
a lull of 2 years, 2.5 years between projects. So
Correct.
was it a big struggle period that you had to face?
So I'll tell you what happened. So right after the film release, so the film released in December 2010, and in 2011 April, I left for Australia because I'd won a scholarship to study at the ADC, which is the Australian Dance Company.
Okay.
And so I've been a dancer all my life.
Hmm.
Actor is something that I, became by
Yeah.
fluke.
Yeah.
But so I've always wanted to pursue dancing, and I had very like before I even signed the Rajshri film, I had applied for the ADC
Hmm.
because I wanted to study
Hmm.
jazz and contemporary forms of dancing,
Hmm.
and that came through. And so when that came through, I felt like that was a great opportunity for me to leave from here. It'll
Hmm.
also give me time to prepare myself as an actor
Hmm.
because I didn't do that in the beginning. So that's how I left India and I went to Australia to study. And each time, so it was a 4 year program. And each time in my vacations, I would come to India and I would do one thing. So the first vacation that I came to India, I did Dabang 2. The second vacation that I came to India, I did Hero Panti. So hence, because I would only come for 1.5 months, so I couldn't take up anything
Hmm. Hmm.
largely like a film or anything of that sort.
Hmm.
So I only had like little bit of time that I could do things, and that's what I did because I still wanted to be active in the Indian scenario. Somehow I didn't want to lose that, and hence there were gaps. Was it a struggle? Not so. If I wasn't pursuing my course
Yeah.
at ADC, I think that would have been a bigger struggle because I would have been here. And when your first film doesn't work, then your opportunities become much lesser. Then you're actually then starting from negative. You're not even starting from zero. Then you're starting from negative because then you have to make people believe that the film didn't work not because of you but because of other reasons. Um, but of course, but I think I just got lucky because I moved to Australia, and yet when I in between I did these important roles in some of these bigger films, which gave me the exposure that I needed. I think. So it wasn't that much of a struggle, if you ask me,
So if
but it would have been considerably.
so, you didn't have a struggle even between Dabang and Hero Panti, you're saying, because you were shuttling in and out of India?
Correct, because I was also see I was preparing for so I do this international musical called West Side Story, which is produced by the Australian dance company, and I play the lead in it. So I was preparing for that while I was also shuttling between India and
Hmm.
Australia. So because I was also doing like a major thing outside India, it didn't strike me as a struggle.
ऐसा कोई project आया
It was,
इस दौरान when you were in Australia that you had to say no to?
yes, there was, and it was quite a big deal. It was like a major contract with a big film production house. It was a 3 film deal with them, which came to me in between, which I said no to because at that point I'd already committed to the musical, and it was a 5 year contract for the musical. So I couldn't let go of that. So I had to say no to the film. But I also knew that the experience that I would get with the musical and the actor that it will make me would be much more prepared to handle stuff in back home in India
Did
whenever
that
that happens.
did that film go on to become a hit?
Actually, no, it did decently well.
So why don't you name the production house?
जो मैंने की नहीं उसके बारे में बात करने का क्या फायदा?
Okay. So as you went along, uh,
Hmm.
there came something called OTT, and you started with Abhay.
Yes.
Now, if you compare
Yes.
the two mediums, Sandeepa, I want to
Hmm.
know what difference do you feel while you're on the set? while you're facing the camera, while you're reading the story, the feel that you get, and the experience that you have during the execution.
I think filming wise is pretty much the same. Um, like a set, like a web series set and a film set is pretty similar.
Yeah,
Um, the preparation as a actor is also very similar, but the difference is that because it's a series and there are, there's larger time. There are like sometimes 8 episodes and sometimes there are 12 episodes, and each episode is about half an hour to 45 minutes each. So hence you get more time to explore your own character. It's not like a film which is just a 2 hour film where everyone's time limit on screen is limited.
yeah,
I think that's the bigger difference. As an actor, I feel OTT is a more exciting platform
hmm,
because there's much more that I can explore, and the opportunities also, in fact, that I'm getting on digital is far better than what I'm getting
hmm,
in films. Because I feel like people are taking bigger risks on OTT as opposed to films.
hmm.
So in terms of an actor preparation, it's the same. In terms of filming, also it's the same. We shoot it exactly the same way. Um, but as an actor, in terms of the way you handle your role, maybe that's a bit different.
Correct. So you're enjoying OTT.
I'm loving it. I think I've come back to India at the very right time when
When these
OTT.
scripts come to you, um, do you upfront ask that what is your role scene wise? What I'm trying to ask you here is that these web shows have been having a few explicit scenes here and there.
Hmm.
Do you ask on day one कि क्या क्या है, and ask yourself in return that will I be able to do it or not able to do it?
So what usually happens is that they send me the script, right? They send me the entire 5 episodes or 6 episodes or 8 episodes. Once I read the script is when I decide whether I want to do it or not. It's not a question that I need to ask them. I've read it.
Hmm.
If there's a certain explicit scene in the series, then I know about it already before I say yes to the project.
Hmm.
Then it's, of course, it's up to me whether I am I willing to do it, am I not willing to do it. That's a call that I take depending on the subject and whether I like the writing or whatever. Whether that explicit scene is there for the heck of it, or is it driving the force in some manner. So yeah, so it's not a question that you ask anybody. It's you read it, so you're aware of what you're getting into.
And then you say yes or no.
Correct. But I don't like in today's day and age. I don't think that becomes a deciding factor in doing
Hmm.
a series. I think I pretty much decide on the basis of the story
Hmm.
and the overall. I mean, of course, there are lots of other factors: who's directing it, which platform is it on, who are the actors associated with it. There are also other factors that you keep in mind before saying yes to it. So I like that scene doesn't become a reason for you to do it or not do it.
Hmm. So let's assume a hypothetical situation that you get a very good web offer and you get a very
Hmm.
good film offer. The dates are
Hmm.
clashing. They
Hmm.
both are equally good, and you really
Hmm.
can't decide for the longest time that
Hmm.
which one should I take up.
Hmm.
Where would the final vote go?
I think whenever we read scripts, no, our heart knows. Like we know which one we want to do. Like, there are never, how much ever I say, like even if when I've worked on 2 projects at the same time, one is better than the other,
Hmm.
or one is lesser than the other, or whatever. Like in terms of writing or whatever. For me, I've always based my decisions on the basis of the writing. Sometimes my role has not been that long, but it's always the writing that I go with. For me, that is the most important thing. So whichever between the two, the writing is better, I'll go with that.
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि आपको पता चल जाता है कि यू नो विच इज बेटर इन अ वे,
Gut भी
बेटर इन अ वे, आपको ये भी पता चल जाता है कि इंटीमेट सीन फॉर द हेक ऑफ इट इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है या इंटीग्रल है. तो आपको ये पता चल जाता है कि व्हेन यू आर डूइंग अ मूवी or a web series, will it, as it rolls further and further, क्या आपको gut feeling आने लगती है कि yeah, this is not going to work much?
Yeah, you do. When you're shooting for it, you come to know.
Hmm.
Sometimes what's written on paper and what's how it's executed, there's a difference between the two. So obviously, whenever you're leading it, you picturize the entire thing in your head that this is how it's going to turn out. But sometimes when you start doing it,
Hmm.
and the way the maker has picturized it, sometimes can be very different. And sometimes the co-actors can be very different from what you had imagined or something of that sort.
Hmm.
Yeah, that happens. It happens. That's quite normal, no?
How about social media? You put out a lot of pictures there. You have been trolled on a couple of occasions.
Mm.
How do you deal with it?
No, I don't deal with it much. Yeah. I don't, to be honest, I don't take social media too seriously. I enjoy being on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I leave it to that. Like, I don't take it too personally. I don't think too much about it because I feel like it's it's freedom of speech for everyone. So people are sometimes frustrated in their lives, so they write things. Sometimes they're happy, so they write things.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're angry and they write things. Sometimes they're sad and they write things. And our nation is very emotional driven.
Hmm.
हम हर चीज में बहुत इमोशनल हो जाते हैं. So I don't take it like I don't take it to heart or anything like that. That's
Do
cool.
you do you
Then the last,
do you never hit back at a troll?
I never reply. More 99% of the times I don't. That 1% maybe someday when I am also pissed off, I'll write back and say something.
Hmm.
But usually I don't, because these are the same people who will say nice things to you at some point. So at that time we don't get angry at them, na?
Tell me what's next. Now, where are you going to concentrate on? Are you going to concentrate on movies or on OTT? And I really want to know, Sandeepa, one thing, that do you call up filmmakers upfront? Because today, in today's times, in such severe competition, heroines themselves, and they have told me that they don't mind calling up filmmakers and saying, okay,
Mm.
you are making this project, I want you to audition me, or I want you to consider me for
Mm.
the role.
Mm.
Do you do that?
Where do I do that? Not as much as I should be doing. I should be doing much more than what I do. But there are times when if I come to know about it and I think I'm right for it, like I did for Mumbai. When I read the script, and I knew this was being made, and the role that I'd read was fab, and I knew that I could do it, and I wanted to be part of that story. I did call up Apur Vilakhia, and tell him like, let me test for it. Give me the opportunity to at least test for it. If you still feel that I'm not right for
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
then fair enough.
yeah.
And because he was very apprehensive about taking me in it, because he felt like I didn't fit physically, I didn't fit a Maharashtrian middle class, CA kind of girl, and I was too glamorous. He felt. So I was like, you know what? Let me just do the test, and as an actor, that's also one of our duties to look the parts
Hmm.
with so give me the opportunity to do it. So I sometimes do it, but I should do it much more. I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not that not that extroverted. So I do feel a little shy in approaching people. Uh, so yeah, I don't do it enough. I should do it more.
Would you consider Bisaat as the turning point of your career?
I mean, I feel like turning point as an actor for sure, because I feel like this is the first time that it's very driven by the girl. A lot of stuff that I've done in the past were mainly driven by men in the stories, but this is driven by the girl. So of course the part is much more meatier. There's much more to do in it. So, and luckily the way I'd signed it with the thought that this will give everyone an opportunity to see my range as an actor. And luckily it kind of worked out. And I did get, I have gotten appreciated for the way I performed in it. So of course, I think as an actor, definitely a turning point.
So this MX Player show has done a world of good to Sandeepa Dhar. It's so good to hear about that. And I
Thank
wish
you.
you all the best for your future assignments. And
Thank you so
big
much.
thank you to you from the entire team of eTimes here.
Thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.